All right. Well, another edition of the NBA show here on the podcast. I know it's been about 2 weeks, but as you guys know, it is the middle of the busiest sports calendar of the year. So we're going to go stagger these episodes until we get closer to the end of football. Of course, we do this show every few weeks at this point right now with our guy, Greg Hrinya. Greg, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. It's been 2 weeks. It's been a very active 2 weeks already out the shoot, man. I got to tell you, I told everybody I was not looking forward to the season when it started, but I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty engaged actually. I'm surprised because normally this time of year I'm sharing time with other sports and other content, but this has been a very fascinating first 2 weeks so far. I got to say.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. A lot of stuff off the court going on, which seems to be a hallmark of the NBA these days. But yeah, it's exciting as it always is. I'm enjoying watching the games. A lot of surprising teams, so it's been a good start.
Yeah, it's been a good start, but it's also been a really weird situation, especially now in Memphis. Ja Morant, of course, he was suspended for a game due to what is that? I missed that game actually. What exactly happened in that game? Suspended for
conduct detrimental. From my understanding of it, and I wasn't watching that game specifically that night. First half apparently seemingly went great. They come out from the locker room. He was disengaged, not moving around, standing in the corner.
So it was a team decision, in other words.
Yeah, during timeouts, he was away from the huddle. And then after that game, they, was when they suspended him for the following game. And that's how that whole thing played out.
Well, he was spent one game. Of course, he effort issues on the Lakers game last week, which probably caused this to happen. He came back, I believe, Monday this week, and he played another really inefficient game. His post-game presser, I have a clip here I'm going to play for you quick. His post-game presser really left even more speculation about his future. Check us out.
Get the same joy right now that we used to see from you?
No.
Why not?
What can be done to get it back?
We'll see.
All right. So it looks like things are very much at a crossroads so far with Ja Morant. Now, it's funny. We speculated last year, certainly I did, about the possibility of Memphis blowing things up. And, of course, they did blow things up. They did, trade Desmond Bane to Orlando and whatnot. But we did speculate to also the possibility of Ja Morant maybe be on the move. Now, he's still in Memphis now, but with all this stuff going on here, you got to figure. And I always like to start the year of like saying, okay, which players, which whales you call like stars could be on the move or teams that could be wiggled out of other teams to another team. And Ja was always one of those guys that said, keep out of the situation, but I didn't think maybe this year he'd be all right. But this could be the first whale on the move, man. Do you think let's keep it simple this way. Is Ja a Memphis Grizzly by say April at the close of the season?
I'll say no, although I don't know that he will wind up going for the price that everyone would probably theorize. I think his name is a lot better than his game at this point. I saw rumored earlier that the Kyrie Irving package would kind of be in the ballpark when Kyrie was traded from the Nets to the Mavs, that sort of deal. I don't know. I think that Kyrie's problem was solely off the court. Not that Kyrie doesn't have an injury history. He surely does. But Ja Morant's got the injury history and the off-the-court baggage. But then in addition to that, he's not as good as Kyrie. Like, he's not as talented. He doesn't bring the shooting to it. Me personally, it's kind of the same thing with Kyrie. There were a lot of teams that didn't want to touch Kyrie for off-the-court stuff. I wouldn't want to touch Morant for leadership and basketball stuff in addition to that.
I agree with that too, because like my thing is everybody keeps saying how like I don't think he's done anything necessarily egregious off the court. Yes, he's hurt his brand off the court. Yes, it's terms of being the ambassador of the NBA. I agree with you there. However, I think it's as much even more risk on the court because it's his style of play. It's higher risk, high reward. You know what I'm saying? He's a high flyer. He plays like Derrick Rose, and you're starting to see him not year after year missing chunk games for health reasons.
That, and also like he's not a good shooter. So I mean,
that too.
Last night 6 of 19. You went through his poor games before when you were detailing it. I just don't know that an undersized guard whose game is predicated on athleticism is someone that you want to empty your holster for. Like if I was if I were the Houston Rockets, I'd rather go after Derek White than Ja Morant, because I'm looking for a guy who's going to stabilize my situation, not add volatility to it. And also, like, I think you look at teams that might need point guards, like, it's not easy to just incorporate a guy who can't shoot or isn't known for his shooting. And also, like, I don't know, I just look at his maturity issues. Like, you know, he's supposed to be the leader of his team, and this is how he's acting. And, you know, I know people will say that, like, the coach played a big role in this, and you know, he called him out in the locker room, and you know, I've heard all about Isolo's mantra of being assertive and not being passive aggressive with his players, and if there's an issue, he's going to call it out, and so on and so forth. And you know, I get that might not work with a lot of players nowadays, definitely not with Ja Morant. But the reality is, like, you know, Morant should be more acceptable of coaching, because I don't think that he's a perfect player. It's not like he's telling Luka to become a 3-and-D player. Like, you know, he's actually done a lot to help his game. I mean, Morant's biggest criticism last year, I mean, again, this is a theme, his criticism of the environment that he's in, but his criticism last year was that he didn't run enough pick and rolls. This year they're running 58 pick and rolls per 100 possessions.
Really?
Don't quote me on the number that they were running last year. I think last year was something like 22, but it was something really low last year. But it is 58 per 100 this year, which is what he wanted. So, I mean,
it's still a significant increase from last year.
Yeah, it's still a significant increase. They're doing more of what he wants. And I'm not going to blame a coach who's trying to coach an imperfect player. You know, it's not like he's Kevin Durant in his prime, or Luka Doncic, or Giannis, or whomever. You know, I mean, take your player. Like, he is not a 1A superstar player. He's an all-star player, but who comes with his limitations. And I thought the Derrick Rose comparison was a pretty good one. You know, obviously Derrick Rose had he not gotten hurt, but I mean, you know, the style that Morant plays is he's very likely to get hurt, and he doesn't bring the shooting along with him. So, given the leadership things, you know, even if you're not taking the off the court stuff into account, I just don't think that he's the perfect player. That a lot of teams really, I don't think there's a huge market for his services, given what. No.
And you look at his contract too, also, right? This year, this year's getting paid $39.4. Okay, then he has 2 more years in his deal right now, which he gets $42.1, and then the year after that, 27-28, $44.8. Now, there's only 2 years left in the deal after this year, so maybe the closer he gets to the end of the contract, maybe it is a little more attractive to teams to say, you know, we'll take a chance on that one for a year or two. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I mean, he's still pretty young, and he's still pretty good. Like, what is Ja Morant to me a top 25 player in the league? Yeah, I guess, but it's trending the other way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He's still considered that spot because he can still go off a night here and there, but he's not efficient. And there are a lot more players coming into the league that are getting better. You know, players who've been in the league a couple of years are getting better. And yet here he is now, a guy, by the way, it's funny how things change. Like, this is a guy we thought 4 years ago was probably the face of the league. And that spot was open because, look, even though we agree Nikola Jokic is the best player in basketball, in terms of marketing, he didn't really care for that. He doesn't really care. And same thing with, to that extent, with Luka, too, also. So the opportunity was there. And then all the stuff happened off the court. Again, not saying it was egregious and bad, but it just hurt his brand. But now, that's now trickling into his play now, on top of that. And so it's going to be interesting. Let me ask you a question, this one about Ja, and about potential. Like, let's say he does get traded. Which teams do you think, in your mind, not a big market, you said, but if it's a small market, which teams do you think could use a guy, Ja Morant, and maybe somewhere he can go that can reset his career?
I mean, I've heard Houston rumored just because they don't have a point guard, and they could use Van Vliet's contract. Van Vliet's obviously out for the year with a torn ACL. So I mean, that's, and they've got plenty of draft capital they can use. You know, I mean, that's the most seamless fit. If I were them, I don't know that that's the move that I would make, given that, you know, you've already got a guy playing point guard essentially in Amen Thompson, who isn't a great shooter, but does a lot of other things on the floor that make him highly valuable. I would say that Morant kind of has the same style without the defense and the length and, the durability. I would rather have Amen Thompson dominate the ball than Ja Morant. But I think that's the easiest trade if we're just talking about logistics. I mean, I've heard the Sacramento Kings is a possible team, and that's probably just because the Kings are not a destination, let's say, for like free agents. I mean, obviously free agency isn't what it used to be, but I mean, it's not like players are clamoring to go to Sacramento, so they pretty much have to use a trade to acquire a guy. But I also don't know how that works necessarily. I think if any move is made, it's probably after December 15th when a lot of guys who signed this summer become eligible to be traded. But the problem is that given the amount that he's making, the $40 million, like you said,
42 and 44 next 2 years, and this is what's left of this contract.
I mean, as far as making the money match for a trade this year, like it's hard to make those big trades in season because again, without Van Vliet, I mean, that's a tough trade to make. A lot of teams don't have just $40 million in cumulative salary they can throw out. Like, let's say Milwaukee looked at it and they're like, oh, we'll take a chance on a guy who's at a huge discount, but then it's like they don't have the salary that they could send back to match it. Even if you take Kuzma and I guess if you take Kuzma and Bobby Portis,
that's closer because I know Kuzma got like 18 and 19, some of that.
I thought Kuzma was actually at like 21 or so.
Yeah, but his deal's de-escalating too, though.
Yeah, and then I think Portis is at like 15 or 16. He just signed.
Right, so you can make that work.
And then if you throw in, I guess, like an Andre Jackson Jr., to make the money work, I guess.
See, the thing is, I do think, you're not talking about Ja Morant at age 30, age 29. He's still in his mid-20s. So, it's not to say he's not rehabable at all. And honestly, for a guy of his name stature right now currently, who we still think is a top 25 player in the league and could easily, if you turn things around, get back to the top 10 discussion, I think $40 million a year is not terrible considering the other guys getting paid.
It's not terrible, but you're going to have to get rid of 2 to 3 players off your current roster if you're a good team. If you're a good team, like let's say Miami is the team that always comes up in these discussions.
Of course, Miami. Yeah.
So I mean, like, who are you making in that trade? Like, is it just a hero for Ja swap and some other fleeting compensation, or are you trading Wiggins plus a couple other guys to make that work? Like, I don't know that I want to lose 3 guys off my depth. If you're saying they're just going to add him to the team now and swap him for hero, maybe, I guess. But, I guess as you go through it, it's just hard. Like Lauri Markkanen, he's a name that's always going to come up as, the Jazz are always tanking. He's a really good player, but I mean, he makes $45 million. It's not easy to just have $45 million lying around.
And you're hoping that if you do it, you do with the hope that Ja can turn it around. And again, there's still the space to do that because he's young enough. So you're not doing age here. You're dealing with someone that's maybe he's mentally checked out because it is Memphis and they've seemed to be going nowhere after a fast start a couple of years ago. So maybe you put him in the right situation. Maybe he does get motivated. But at the same time, too, also as a Heat fan here, of course, you see back here, my biggest risk of Ja has nothing to do with off the court at all. I trust him to come to Miami and behave himself because Miami, they do that. They do a good job in insulating the behavior. My issue, and I said earlier in the podcast, is the fact that he's a high-risk player because of the way he plays. He's very susceptible to getting hurt. And we just got rid of a guy who barely played, who's getting paid $50 million a year. Are you ready to go back to that thing again and bring a player? Now, granted, I'm a lot younger, but even more risk than Jimmy Butler was, and paying that guy $42 million next year and then $44 million next year. Maybe so. Maybe you have to take a chance and hopefully it works out. But maybe coaching, maybe Eric Spoelstra can find a way to reel that in a little bit. Hey, listen, it's okay to play high intensity, but you know your value also too to your team. You got to be available too.
Yeah, I think if they were trading Hero for him straight up, you could say, okay, if it doesn't work, they're basically the team that they are now, which is like a pretty solid team. But if they were keeping Hero and they were trying to move off of Wiggins and Jaquez and Jovic and some picks or whatever,
yeah,
like I don't know, I'd be less enthused just because
I would rather to your point, I'd rather trade Hero if anything.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like you look at it as a team like Milwaukee, like they might only have a couple bullets left in the holster to play, and they're valuable bullets because people are going to look at it and say, okay, like a 2031 pick or a 2032 pick, like
Right.
Giannis will be gone by then. That's a very valuable pick.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you're Milwaukee, is Ja the guy that you would want to gamble on? And I'm just using like those teams as examples. Like not that Kuzma and Bobby Portis and take the last guy on their bench are irreplaceable depth that like is contributing to, a championship team, but is Ja a guy that you can trust that you are then, and I'm talking about more from a basketball standpoint, although I guess you could characterize the leadership flaws and the mopiness and all that as like an on the court thing, because that's clearly spilled onto the court. But even taking that out, I don't think that he's a perfect fit for a lot of teams. And, maybe Milwaukee makes that work because they have outside shooting around him.
Yeah.
Like Milwaukee doesn't have shooting with Giannis, so that you then add Ja, who doesn't give you a lot of outside shooting. And, I just don't know that an unreliable player that you're then gutting your asset chest for. And again, it's beyond those two teams, but I'm just like going through some of the, the workings of how teams could operate. And it's like, does Sacramento make sense? Like, I don't think so. So you can go through it, and I don't see like an obvious fit.
No.
Unless you're saying it's not Miami and you're trading.
I think Miami is the best fit. I think Miami's the best fit. It's just whether you want to take that chance on it, and who are you going to give up for that. And honestly, like I said, I'd rather give a hero with the one big contract versus the other assets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're going to lose a shooting a hero, but the places that you would give up in that deal, if you weren't giving up hero, you lose more shooting. So at least Fonseca can shoot the ball, at least Yo shoot the ball, and other guys in that nature on the roster. But again, we'll follow the story, obviously, because it's going to be a very fluid conversation throughout the rest of the season.
And also one other note, I think the pick and roll with Bam, if you're spacing the flow of shooters, would probably work out pretty well with him if he stays healthy and happy and all that other stuff.
I would do it only because I trust Spoelstra to reel him in, but we'll see. OKC was actually surging. I hope they won. I wish they won last night, man, because then they'd be 9-0. They lost to Portland last night, the first game of the year, but they are clearly the best team in basketball right now through the first 2 weeks. And it got me thinking too. Also, everything they're doing now, they're 8-1 right now. And it lost a close game to Portland last night. And they're doing all this without their second best player, Jalen Williams. And by the way, for folks who don't know, who aren't familiar with OKC, the Thunder, and their roster and their players, because I'm sure you not plugged in that way, because unless you're a hardcore NBA fan, Jalen Williams is arguably a top 10 player in the league. Okay, most people have him in the top 10. I had number 11 on my list coming into the year. So he ain't just some guy on the roster. This is a very important guy to this thing. This is like Pippen and Jordan. So the fact that they're still winning games without their second best player and being at 8-1 right now, it got me thinking. This team once it was one of the narratives last year. People forget. This team quietly won 68 games. Very few teams in this league's history has even crossed 67. Okay, I think only 2 has crossed 70. Okay, is there a possibility this year that because they will get Jalen Williams back some point this year? Do you see a scenario this year where this Thunder team, who I think is probably better now than they were last year, because when they get Jalen Williams back, darn well he'll fit in and take care of business. Health, I was withstanding. Can this team really win 70 games? Because I say yes. What about you?
I say no. Not because they're not good enough to do it, just that I think that guys are going to cycle in and out of the lineup all year. You're going to have back-to-backs. You're going to have them, I think their ultimate goal is a championship, not winning 70 games. So if they need to sit Shea out,
correct. Yeah.
If they want to ease Jalen Williams back in, Chet is not like an overly durable player. So, I mean, like they have incredible depth, and like they're even with those guys cycling in and out, they're still going to be favored probably heavily on most nights. But I mean, you're going to run into teams in a very competitive Western Conference like last night where you might just not have all your guys available, and a team's going to be hungry and all that. So I don't know if they're chasing 70 wins. And also I think that the West is super deep. I mean, you take out Utah, and basically on any given night, you could lose that game. Maybe Utah and Dallas at this point, you take them out. But like, they lost to Portland last night. They could lose to San Antonio. They could do any team that didn't necessarily make the playoffs last year. in the West, I feel like is improved. So now, granted, the East is weaker, but they only lost, I think, one game to the East last year in the regular season. That was Cleveland. So they already cleaned up last year on the East. So they have nowhere to go but down the same. Because they can't do any better there to make up ground. And just with how deep the West is, I just think that they're going to be more cautious with their guys. They're not going to run them out there if they're sore, if they're banged up, that sort of thing.
And I'm with you. But this is why I think I have a good chance, though. Because I don't think they're trying to go get 7. I don't think they're ahead of saying, we got to win 70, you got to win 70. Even last year. They just play basketball. Last year, they had what? What was the point differential last year? 12 points a game? 12 points differential margin?
Like 12, 13, 14.
Right. And guess what? Right now, through 9 games, 13.3. Mm-hmm. So, and they're doing without their second best player. So it's not like they're in their head saying we're going to go for 70, but at the same time, it's like, okay, they're just clearly better than everybody else. So they're just going to do what they do in winning games anyway, naturally, And I think that's why I think 70 might be a lot more realistic because of the fact that these guys just play ball. There's no drama in this team. They're a unit. They're team play. When they do interviews after the games, all together. It's not just SGA doing the post-game interviews. It's the entire team together, and they just play ball. They're one of those head first, put the head down and whatever. And I don't know, man. I look at this team. It's like they're just clearly better than anybody else. And even if they don't try, it meant they try even harder to win these games. That difference could go to 15 points a game because there's some games you see they're kind of just like playing ball, whatever, and it's close at first, and then they pull away. Look at the Clippers game on Tuesday. They're behind at halftime, and they win by 15 points. And that was a close game.
Yeah, the safe money is on them repeating. I still like Denver because I think that Denver got a lot better. They're 5-2 now, so that might not look a lot better. Obviously, Cam Johnson doesn't look that great, but I think one thing that Denver did when they made that trade, it wasn't just a 1-for-1 swap, Porter Jr. for Johnson. They saved $20 million that allowed them to go out and fortify their bench. So it wasn't just adding Johnson. They added Tim Hardaway Jr., they added Bruce Brown, they added Jonas Valanciunas, which is basically those are the 3 guys coming off their bench now. They didn't have a bench last year. So, I just feel like they are a deeper team that will figure it out. And in that series, even with Shea, I would still lean towards Jokic from a talent perspective. Obviously, you're talking about 2 of the top 3-4 guys in the league. It's no disrespect to them. Just that I feel like Denver could give them a run. But again, we're 2 weeks into the season. So
I agree. I agree. If there's any team in the Western Conference that can give them any challenge right now, there's only one team, in my opinion, that can do it. It's Houston. No, not Houston. It's Denver. That's it. Yeah. I don't think Houston's ready for that smoke yet.
No, not unless they were if they were to use their assets and make like a sizable move. And to me, Ja Morant isn't like a sizable move.
I agree.
If they were to get, I think, again, I mentioned it earlier, Derek White would be a better fit for them. If they were to use their assets and get Derek White, not even saying Derek White's available, but let's just hypothetically say that he was, I feel like that would be a bigger move because the biggest area of concern for them is like a reliable ball handler who can also shoot. Derek White's a good defender. Reed Shepherd is not. So that's why Reed Shepherd comes off the bench and doesn't start for them because they can't trust him to defend for 36 minutes a night.
Right.
So I think that Houston is still limited in a sense. And I also don't know that like a lot of times when teams are thrown together in the offseason, like that normally does not result in success that very first year. So like I find it hard to believe that Houston is, and again, a lot of those guys are still there, but Durant is new and he's basically the central point of their offense. So I feel like that's a hard thing to integrate on the fly and then have success first year. Even the Heat with Wade, Bosh, and LeBron didn't win a championship the first year. So
right. Well, another good story happening too. Also, very good start by the 76ers, 5-3. And then doing this with a very visibly struggling Joel Embiid, who's only averaging 18 points a game. But that backcourt of Edgecombe and Maxey has been phenomenal so far. First off, how surprised are you that Philadelphia's been this good so far off the shoot?
I'm pretty surprised because I didn't expect Maxey to take another leap, and I didn't expect VJ Edgecombe to be as NBA ready as he was coming in. I knew they were getting a good kid and a motivated player and all that sort of stuff, but I didn't expect him to transition that seamlessly to starting alongside Maxey and really making like one of the good young backcourts of the future for any team in the league, not just in the East. So that was surprising. And they're also doing, I would say they're doing it without Paul George and what was
he hasn't played yet. Right? He hasn't played yet this year, right? Paul George?
He hasn't played yet. Yeah,
what a waste of fucking time, bro. I'm sorry. The Embiid thing is frustrating as hell, and I get it, but at least he's playing games. Paul George is more frustrating to me.
And to be honest, I think that the Sixers are better served, and there's no way to do this, but they are better served without Paul George and Embiid even on their roster. But I mean,
not question.
But there's no takers because when they start Adem Bona and Jabari Walker, like they play super high tempo, they're running the floor, they're getting out on the break. That the other team misses a shot and they're gone. You can't do that with George and with Embiid. With PG-13, we're assuming they can't do that since he hasn't played yet. With Embiid, we just see it doesn't work because he can barely move anymore. His talent is still, it's not like he lost his skill set. It's just that he struggles to move out there. I mean,
he's probably also nervous to do anything crazy to get hurt again. Now, here's the thing. He's averaging 18 points a game, playing only 22 minutes a game. That's not terrible, actually, though.
No, but I mean, the issue is that, like, their last game that he played, he went 1 for 10 in the second half. So, I mean, you could tell that he had no gas in the tank. And if you're looking at this team from a playoff perspective, it's like, how can you rely on you would need him to play 35 minutes or 32 minutes in a playoff game. I just don't see him ever getting to a point where he can reliably give you 32, 35 minutes in a game that they would need him. And plus, like, the way that they play, it's like a run and gun offense that, like, he's just too slow for. So I feel like they have to play a different style based on whether or not he's on the floor. It's not an easy thing for Nick Nurse to navigate. So I give them full credit for the way that the beginning of the season has gone, for the style they've played and all that. But I mean, it's like they've got like a 2 timelines thing going on here, which isn't – when Golden State had the 2 timelines going on, it wasn't an issue of injury. It was just, new guard, old guard, style of play, all that. In this case, like – they couldn't get rid of Paul George or Embiid if they wanted to. So that, I think, is really where the challenge is.
And then Embiid's contract, I mean, I know we, on this show, we touched on it a lot throughout last year. We'll do it again here for people listening to it today. Like, there's still 3 more additional years outside this one. Well, 2 really, but 1 player option. And the way he's going, he ain't going to opt out of that contract. Come on now. He's getting paid $58.1 next year, then paying $62.7 the year after. And then his player up year in 28-29, when my kid probably, I think, 16 at that point, 67.3. So, like, people say, just trade him. Who's going to take him? No one's taking that contract. And and the way he looks right now, he's dead. They're dead in the water. I don't know what you do with that. Like, I mean, you wish you had like the amnesty clause. Remember back in the day, the amnesty clause back in the day. He'll be let me ask you a question. That's a good question. Who would you amnesty, Joel Embiid or Paul George?
Definitely Embiid, because I think that Paul George, if he gets on the floor, can still play a little bit and he can still maybe guard a little bit. Like Embiid can't move. It's not a matter of his talent. It's just that I feel like his body has betrayed him at this point. Paul George was never, he'll come back in some shape or form. He was never going to be like totally shot. And also his contract's a little shorter. I want to say it's 1 year shorter.
He has 3 more years, I think, on his deal now. I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean, they signed him to a 4-year deal, I believe.
Yes, last year was year 1, right?
His first year. So
it's all 4 guaranteed, I think, also too. I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So I guess it's the same thing. I feel like you can put him out there, and he can still give you 3 and D, even if he's not a star caliber player. He can still give you something. If Embiid is not going to be the player that he was and can't move on defense, I feel like you're getting less from him. That is a very good question, though. If you were given that choice, I think the saving grace for Daryl Morey is that he drafted Jared McCain in the middle of the first round, hit. He would have been the rookie of the year last year, most likely, had he not gotten hurt. So, I mean, there's that. And then Edgecombe looks like he could be an all-star. McCain looks like he's going to be a very good player, not an all-star caliber player. Edgecombe looks like he could be like a star in this league.
You don't need to pay them. You don't need to pay them until by the time you're ready to pay those guys, that you'll get off Embiid's contract and off Paul George's contract in 3 years.
Yeah,
so like Paul George's deal right now, like this year's getting paid $49.2. Next year 51.6, and then his last year. No, that's I'm wrong about that. No, wait. So that was last year. They didn't update this. This year, 51.6. Next year, 54.1. Player option at age 37, 56.5. He's opting in too.
Yeah,
without question.
Both those guys are gonna opt in, and neither one of them might be playing at that point, but they're just gonna ride this out. So I mean, I don't see any way they can get off of those contracts. I just think that Paul George, you could have him stand in the corner and play a 3-and-D role. I don't know that you can have Embiid be the focal part of your offense. And
Embiid's the only one. Is the one, unfortunately. He's the one playing right now currently. But yeah, it's sad for Philadelphia, man, because like in one way, it's good that you at least have something to back up on, so they can still keep these young guys, play them until ready to pay them, and then they pay them once the other contracts expire. But at the same time, it's like imagine his team was healthy. Now, to me, if Joel Embiid was Joel Embiid 2-3 years ago when he was healthy, this is the clear favorite to win the East.
I would say that most fans, obviously not OKC, not Denver, maybe a couple others, would still take the situation that Philly's in, because if you're not competing for a championship, so like, the Knicks, the Cavs wouldn't take their situation, yes, but they have the backcourt of the future there. Early 20s, in Edgecombe's case, like 19, 20 years old, like you see a future there. It's like in football, the Giants with Jackson Dart, you see like, okay, this might not look good, but we at least feel like we have something for a decade, let's say.
Yeah.
Most teams, I would say, are searching for that. So even though they have these huge albatrosses in contracts, the fans can at least feel good that they've already got the next guard on their roster, which most teams would not have. But making that work as far as winning a title is nearly impossible, just given the fact that you're just not getting consistent production out of two salary spots that are accounting for $100 million this year.
Okay. Chicago Bulls, 6-1, number 1 in the East right now. I gotta ask you, because they always do this. They always start pretty decent and then they fall apart. But this one feels a little different. I don't know. Are they a contender or pretender? Big picture.
Pretender. Yeah, okay. Definitely a pretender. I mean, like, I've watched them play, and Billy Donovan gets all the credit in the world. The way they're playing, stylistically, Josh Giddey doing a great job orchestrating the offense. Like, every guy, I said to my buddy when they beat the Knicks last week, I'm like, Chicago seems very connected. The Knicks seem disconnected. They seem like everything's on a string. Like, every guy's in the right spot. The ball's going to the right place. But I think ultimately that's a product of good coaching in a weak Eastern Conference and just a hot start. They're going to run into teams that, they're going to be. I mean, even the other night, they should have gotten their doors blown off by Philly. They're down by 22 points, and Philly lets that lead slip. Full credit to Chicago for coming back, but I mean, they still do have their limitations, which is they don't have any star level talent on their roster that when the games are close and tight late, I guess you could say Josh Giddey, like, if he keeps playing this way, he'll be an all-star this year. But I mean, I don't know that you look at their roster and it's not like they have an Anthony Edwards that they can give the ball to and say, get out of the way, like that sort of thing. So you look at their roster, I mean, they're making it work with a lot of guys that have been banished from other teams. Your Jalen Smiths of the world, your Kevin Huerters. I mean, obviously Patrick Williams has always been there, but has always been sort of a controversial figure for the Bulls because they've been trying to develop him forever and he's never really developed. And now this year it seems like they're getting something out of him, but it's early. I think that it's just a product of the East. I don't even know that.
I don't want to shun the parade though, because I believe more in Detroit's won 4 in a row than I do Chicago. Big picture. We'll see. I don't want to shun the Bulls fans, man, but there's fake hustle there with that team, brother. There really is.
To your point, Detroit has like legitimate talent. Like they have a Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, exactly.
Chicago doesn't have that. Even if you're saying Giddey is an all-star caliber player, they have a Cade Cunningham. They have Duran, who looks really good. Asar Thompson. So, I mean, I feel like there are pieces in place with good bench, with also solid bench pieces, but I feel like there's some higher end talent on Detroit that there just isn't on Chicago, which, I feel like this is a little smoke and mirrors at this point. But but again, they played great. So
one of the things we get you to your power rankings for the week, the Lakers, number 2 seed in the West, they are now 7-2, all LeBron James. Now, we sat here on the show 2 weeks ago, and you agree with me, said that you believe LeBron is definitely trying to leverage that situation for himself. I did an episode a couple days later, a solo episode a couple days later, saying that I think that LeBron it's backfiring him. This is about backfiring because they clearly don't need him. There are guys getting involved. Jackson Hayes getting involved, and Luka's doing Luka things and whatnot. Austin Reeves has been unlocked again, and we've said that LeBron. And again, this is not, I know LeBron fans are going to get mad at me when I say this, but this is not a knock on LeBron James, the player. He's top 2 all time for me. I don't dispute that whatsoever. But it comes down to fit, and it also comes down to where the team is versus where he is in his career. Him being there in the Lakers does not help them much. In fact, you can argue it hurts them. Not because he's not good, but he stunts the growth of the players. And I think in his head he's thinking, I wish they would struggle a little more because they know they need me. I know it's only 9 game sample, but it's a pretty nice sample to that, hey, we may not need this guy. So what do you see things going? What are your thoughts on the Lakers' fast start? I'm shocked that they're this good this early.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's actually some staying power here with the Lakers, because when you look at Luka and Reeves, it's almost like what Dallas envisioned with Kyrie and Luka.
Right.
And you've got that already. And then Ayton has assimilated well. He's played better than I ever thought he would. But then you've also got good role players on their team. I think that when LeBron comes back, if he's willing to slide into a secondary or tertiary role like that, like he should be excited to join this team, because there's no team that he could be shipped off to that would give him the opportunity that he likely has right now. And also with his salary, again, if it was prohibitive to trade a $40 million Ja Morant, it's impossible to trade, a 41-year-old guy making $50 million. So, I mean, who is giving up?
The only reason a team will even consider doing that is because of the marketing aspect of that. Because if he goes to Cleveland right now and it doesn't cost them a lot of their assets, they're going to make a shit ton of money because of the fact that it's the kid from Akron back home again. So it's a marketing thing they'll make money on. I don't necessarily help their championship chances anyway, but who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, with Cleveland, it's like I'm not giving up a guy.
No, not at all.
A decade young, even though Jared Allen, for all his flaws, he still does a lot on the court. And at his age, if he's in his mid to late 20s, I'm not giving that up for a guy who's in his 40s just for vibes. I
agree, 100%.
The only, this is like a wild thing that just came into my mind, but the only thing that would maybe even make a little sense is if you're the Knicks and you're trading Towns for him because you want to get off his long-term salary to free that up. Because then LeBron is a free agent after this year. And again, I'm not saying I don't see that happening. I'm just saying that's the only situation where that could even conceivably make sense for a team.
Right.
If you're not in contention, why are you trading for?
And newsflash, they ain't doing that shit.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'm just saying that if you're looking at trades out there, he's basically stuck in the Lakers situation.
Yeah.
Except for a few extreme examples, and again, that would have to be Towns basically demanding a trade. So I mean, again, that's an extreme example.
And the play here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Not really a market for him. So this is his opportunity. And you know what? It's a good opportunity. If you slide him into a roster with Reeves and Luka himself, Ayton playing pretty well, some good bench pieces, LaRavia and Vanderbilt and Marcus Smart, all sliding into very specific roles and what they want them to do. That's not terrible. I mean, that's a team that could do something. They're not OKC, they're not Denver, but I mean, they're right after that. So.
Yeah, if I'm the Lakers, like I said, ride this out on the rest of the year. He's a free agent next year, and then you just let him walk.
Yeah.
There's no reason to shake things up. Plus, I've always said, look, Luka's kind of like James Harden. He doesn't really do well with other stars. He's pretty much a guy that's put requisite talent around him, you can make that work. He's a guy that, because he's so ball dominant. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think having another star on level with him is going to work. I mean, the LeBron Luka thing has worked in a small sample, but it's not going to work long term. We know that already. Yeah. So, but I'm very impressed, man. I'm very impressed, and I think that the whole thing's backfired on LeBron. Honestly, if he was trying to leverage whatever he was trying to leverage, whether a new contract or whatever it may be, so far it's not looking good for him. So
yeah, and look, LeBron's over 40. It's just,
he'll be 41 next month.
It's just the reality of where he is in his career. It's no knock on him. It's just that he's in the twilight of his career.
But it's weird because he's still a top 15, 20 player in the league.
Yeah.
I think we still agree with that.
Yeah.
So, but it's just the situation in itself. All right, before we get out of here, Greg, let's do your Power 5. I got to come up with a name of this segment now going forward when we do this, your Power 5. But give me your fifth best team right now in the NBA so far. I put on some music while we're doing this.
So I mean, as a disclaimer, I'm not necessarily going, like the Chicago Bulls at 6-1. Like, I'm looking at this as overall strength.
I agree. Do it the way you want to, brother.
And all that. So at number 5, I'm going to go with the Knicks.
Okay, the Knicks. Okay. What's the record now? Like 5-3.
5-3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't know that the atmosphere around there is great, but I mean, talent-wise, they're still a top 2 team in the East. So I mean, by default, they're there. And again,
does it feel like a little bit letdown right now? I know it's 5-3, but does it feel like a little bit of a letdown so far for them right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but even with the letdown, they still have a runway just like Cleveland does to get to the finals. So I mean, and I would still, in a game against Chicago or Philly or Detroit or Milwaukee, in a series like that was starting today, I still think the Knicks. So I mean, so I got them at 5.
Number 4.
They haven't concerned me enough to move them out of that.
Right.
Before I'll go with Cleveland. I actually have them over the Knicks just because I feel like they're 5-3 too, but they've also been super banged up. The Knicks don't have that excuse, so at least Cleveland's had injuries. You got Darius Garland. They got Darius Garland back last night.
Should I? Because I think their over under was 57.5, I believe, and I
took the under.
Right, and I took the over. Remember?
Yeah.
Do you think those get the over?
No,
the weak East?
I think they'll still be under.
The East is actually more competitive. We get credit for, I think.
Yeah, it's more competitive, but at like a watered down version. Like I think that it will be tested on a night to night basis, but the level of talent is higher in the West. But given that Cleveland and New York are both in another tier, and with no Halliburton in Indy, with no Tatum in Boston, those teams aren't on the radar. So I mean, there's a runway there for both those teams, as long as they keep up this sort of 5-3, 6-2 pace going throughout the year. So I still feel like Cleveland's in good shape. That Mobley could take another leap. They still have guys around their stars. DeAndre Hunter was still a good pickup. They've got a good coach. If Lonzo Ball stays healthy, I think he's a better playoff fit for them than Ty Jerome was. So I mean,
is there a move to be made for them to put over the top, or this?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a move for the Knicks or the Cavs, to be honest, to move without blowing up what your nucleus is. Like I said before, unless you're moving Towns in some deal, it doesn't have to be for LeBron, but for anybody. Unless you're blowing it up in that sense, I don't see a move for either one of these teams on the margins, which I think is what they would want, given their lack of assets and the salaries of their hiring players. So, but that's just the way I see it now.
Number 3,
the Lakers, team that we just talked about. I've been pretty impressed.
You're buying in, brother. You're buying in.
Yeah. I feel like I've never bought him before, but I feel like those two guards. Both young, both good. They're getting more out of Ayton than I would have expected. Their supporting cast is pretty good, and I feel like if LeBron buys into a role, He's still talented. He can still play. You know, you don't need him to play 35 minutes a night, even if you just play him 25 minutes a night. I feel like there's a world in which there's enough depth there around a superstar caliber player with an all-star caliber player next to him, still with LeBron's skill. I
He
feel
should
like,
embrace the Magic Johnson rule, honestly.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there is that pathway for them to be right up there from the West. So
Yeah.
LeBron wouldn't be able to go to a better team. So I feel like
Agreed.
I'm impressed more so than I would have been 2 weeks ago when we did this podcast. So.
All right, number 2, Greg.
I mean, 1 and 2 are easy. I mean, 2, Denver. 5 and 2 haven't really done anything to concern me. I mean, Cam Johnson hasn't been great, but Tim Hardaway has been surprisingly good. So I mean, even if you want to swap,
I would like Tim Hardaway. I was always a good player.
yeah. So I mean, Tim Hardaway's been much better than expected. Cam Johnson's been worse than expected. But again, it's early, so I mean, I'm not panicking about guys that are learning how to play alongside Jokic and in that system and getting their bearings and all that. And they still have Jokic. They have good depth. So I feel like they're a safe number 2.
Is it me, or does Jokic look like he's out of shape?
I mean, he never looks like he's in shape to me.
No, but like this year, like I remember watching him his first game of the year against Golden State 2 weeks ago, and he looked like he put on some pounds.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that necessarily, but I would also say that like he is probably like the least likely person to suffer like a catastrophic injury because he just plays such a slow, lumbering, unathletic game.
And he'll play himself into shape like he always does.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that he's not like Jason Tatum. When he got hurt, it's like, okay, every year he's in like the top 5 of like miles run on the court. Like he's putting in a lot of effort in a faster paced game. Jokic is not doing any explosive movement. I mean, he might have like 1 dunk this year or 2 dunks when the year's over. I mean, like, he just
right?
He just doesn't play an athletic game. So I feel like he's a very easy guy to pencil into or pen into their lineup every single night. And you don't have to worry about moving parts. So.
Okay, and number 1 is easier, right? Come on now.
Number 1's easy. It's OKC. You know, you made the case earlier that they've been the best team and they've been missing an all-star for the first 9 games. So I mean, that's an easy one. You know, the only thing that I guess we'll be watching waiting for with bated breath will be can they crack 70 or not? I say no. You say maybe. So you know that'll be.
I think them play. Yeah.
That'll be the excitement for this team. I don't think it's so much will they be good, but it's like will they be historically good or just like very good in the regular season.
Would you say SGA right now is the MVP leader right now?
I mean, I guess
hard not to. I mean, not having Jalen.
I guess just given the record, I don't think he's the best player in the league. I mean, to be honest, if I were taking a team from scratch right now, I would take Giannis. I would take Giannis, then I would take Jokic.
He's been. See everything I said about putting your star about the Milwaukee Bucks. People stop on them putting your star. I said, watch this team. Giannis, you're going to get Giannis throwback, and you're getting Giannis playing at high powers. Right now, I go SGA solely because of the situation. If Jalen Williams is here on this team, I say, oh well, he has his boy. No, he's gone, and they're still winning.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to look at the record, and that will tip the scales for SGA if that's what it comes down to. But Giannis is doing way more with way less, and he's playing both sides of the ball. Whereas like Jokic is only an offensive. I mean, you saw it last night. If you watched the game with the Heat,
I got to see the highlights later on.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, you know, there are just plays where Jokic on defense is just checked out. I mean, there was a play. I don't even remember who was driving to the rim for a layup. But, I mean, he could have helped in that situation to prevent the drive. And he just basically, like, laid him as he went in. And the guy got an and one. So, I mean, you know, I think it was Cam Johnson that took the foul. And I felt like there was help defense that could have been given that wasn't just.
Oh wait, you talking about Jokic? The Heat.
I'm talking about Jokic last night.
August the Heat. Yeah, I watched that game. Yeah, I didn't watch the other game. You talking about the?
No. I'm talking about when the Nuggets played the Heat last night.
Yeah, I watched that game. Yes, I did.
Yeah. So I mean, there was a drive. I don't remember the Heat player that did it, but I mean, he was going to the rim. I think Cam Johnson was guarding him, and Jokic was just kind of standing there. Cam Johnson was committing a foul. There was an and one opportunity. It might have been Davion Mitchell towards the end of the first half. Don't quote me on it, but I just look at Jokic as like he's not an engaged defender. And Shea is an engaged defender, which is why I said that he should have been the MVP last year. But again, on a small scale sample size of 2 weeks, Giannis is giving you dominant play at both ends of the floor with a lesser surrounding cast.
I'll leave with this real quick. We'll leave with this one. Would you say, regardless of order, top 3 guys MVP right now, no order, Giannis, which I agree with, SGA, and Wemby?
Yes, if we had to vote today, but I think Wemby's last 2 games were not stellar. So I mean, I would look at that and say that we're looking at the first 5 games, let's say, and getting excited about potential, and the last 2 games have been kind of a dud. So I mean, I need to see more from him to comfortably say that. But look, Luka's missed a couple games. I mean, I would say for me it would be SGA and Giannis, and then then you've got to look around a little bit. And I'm not sure that's how Vegas has it. Vegas probably has Jokic up there. They probably have Doncic up there. They might have Giannis like.
I'll say right now. I'll say right a second.
But
Yeah,
I'm just going off of the first 2 weeks. If you're solely taking that into account, it's SGA and Giannis.
I
And
think
Jokic.
so. Right now, MVP is SGA 1, Luka 2, Jokic 3, Wemby 4, Giannis 5. I got to tell you that the next 5 though has been interesting. You got Tyrese Maxey at plus 4,000, Anthony Edwards plus 6,000, Cade Cunningham plus 10,000. Jalen Brunson plus 15,000, and Kevin Durant, of course, at 15. And you got Josh Giddey also 15,000 as well too. So this might be this could be a very wide open MVP race we've seen in a very long time, where that's just 1 or 2 guys. Last 2 years has been SJ or Jokic, and that's it. This year, it could. This year could be.
The guys 6 through 10 are basically, if one of those teams winds up as a 1 seed or a 2 seed and the presumptive favorite, like Oklahoma City. If Oklahoma City winds up finishing the year for whatever reason as the 3rd seed, let's say SGA gets hurt and they finish as the 3 or the 4 seed,
right?
And one of those teams slides in there, that's where you're getting a Durant. Or if Detroit winds up winning the East, that's where you're getting a Cade.
Well, my pick was Giannis when he started. I think it was.
Yeah. Well, so was mine.
So there you go. So
yeah.
If I'm saying, if you want to take our advice on this one, take the value and plus 75 now while you can.
Yeah, but I think that Giannis wouldn't even need to win the East. I think that if he finished it as a 3 or a 4 seed,
Yep.
I think that one of those is probably enough to get him there. With Detroit, I would say the surrounding cast is better. So in Detroit's standpoint, they would need to finish as like a 1 or a 2, whereas I think Milwaukee could get away with a 3 or a 4, just given surrounding talent.
Right. All right. You follow Greg on X or Twitter at Hrinya NBA. That's GHRINYA NBA. Anything else you want to plug before we got here?
No, that was it.
All right, brother. Well, we'll talk soon, man. That was good stuff as always, man.